Are copper golems actually useful? I want to answer that question today. The copper golem was released in the fall drop of 2025, and unlike its original mob vote purpose back in 2021, this copper golem has a bit more functionality to it. That is, on the surface at least. We've had a couple months to get acquainted with these fellas, so I think it's time to finally deliver a verdict. Are copper golems useful? To test this, we're going to visit 3 different stages of a Minecraft world: the 2-week phase, the mid-game, and the end-game. For the early game, I'm starting a brand new world to see how long it'll take to acquire a copper golem and how long until I can make use of it. For the mid-game world, I'm going to conduct 2 different tests, one for mining and one for a farm. This should give us a good baseline for where I expect people to be using golems at this stage of their worlds. And for the end game, I'm going to retrofit my entire storage system to make use of the copper golems. This system includes multi-item sorting, shulker unloaders, overflow protection, and water streams. Basically the most over-engineered way to be lazy in late game Minecraft without having to deal with the old generation of multi-item sorters. 3 different tests across 3 different stages of a Minecraft world, all to prove if copper golems are actually useful. So the main idea of this test is that we're just going to work our way through the early game of Minecraft and see how quickly we can get a copper golem and then how quickly we can actually make use of it. I see a village over there. But we basically just need to work our way through the earliest steps of Minecraft, which of course means getting wood, getting tools, getting a little bit set up so that we can go down into the caves and collect some copper. After getting the first bits of wood, I started work on the rest of the early game checklist. I stole from villagers, looked for pumpkins, got some stone, looked for pumpkins, and found my first bits of copper. The next challenge would be to find some pumpkins. Making my way across the world, I eventually found a few in this lovely little valley. Once all the ores were done smelting, I got the blocks together, got some shears, and created our first golem. Now I feel like the problem with the golem at this point in time is that I just don't have a use for him. Even if I crafted up a chest and put it down for him to start sorting, it's really not going to be that much of a use right now, because if I put a bunch of different items, he's going to take one item of that type, put it into the chest, and then that chest is basically only going to have beef in it from now on. So he's going to take the rest of it, he's going to sort it over here, and then he's going to pick up another item, and he's not going to put it in this chest because this chest has beef in it, and therefore this is the beef chest. Now if I were to put, say, a pumpkin seed in it and take this away from him, he'll pick up these pumpkin seeds and he'll actually put them in this chest. So I basically have to go through and sort everything still at this point in the game. And the amount of items I have is really not that much. So I could really just sort all of my stuff like this and call it a day. Like it's not that big of a deal. So I'm curious, if we get a little bit more established and get a house with, say, like a couple of chests, get some stuff organized like that, then maybe it'll prove a little bit more useful at this stage. But right now it's not really necessary. And yes, you can get it super early on, but you can't really use it this early. And because I'm so pretentious and needed specific materials in order to construct this starter house that I will never see again, I spent about an hour wandering around the world looking for saplings, gathering resources, and about another hour getting this thing made. I feel like that level of dedication really deserves a like or something. Maybe a sub if you're feeling generous. Alright, we got ourselves a little starter base here, nothing too much, but we did gather enough resources during the process of this that we kind of have a bit of a chest monster going on here. We got a bunch of stuff in a bunch of different places. It's all kind of like semi-organized, and we also have stuff up here in the tower. The golem can actually go up here and check these chests, so I want to take a few things from each of these chests and just kind of let it sort through and do its job, you know? So here we have our chest right by the front door. We're just going to throw in a bunch of random items and he's going to sort this out over time. He takes 16 stacks or 16 items out of a stack at a time. So it takes a little bit of time and effort. It would be easier if we got a second one in here. It'd work twice as fast and get this done just a little bit faster, but we really don't have the resources for more than one just yet. We kind of barely scraped through getting this together, and well, obviously this isn't very much itself. So we're going to give him a minute. He's going to sort through all this stuff and get this stuff put away. The sound design is really, really good though. I love the noise that he's making. So now, one of the big caveats of these early systems is that you do still have to do all of the sorting yourself. You still have to put everything away. We're not anywhere near the stage of having any kind of automatic redstone sorters or anything like that. So everything is very manual at this point in time. And considering you don't have the resources, I mean, I guess copper and a carved pumpkin are really not that hard to get. It might be a little bit tougher to get more than one of these guys sorting your stuff. And at the space and like the scale that we have and we're working with right now, I don't think it's that necessary in the early game, especially like how little resources we have in the first place. Like we have less than a double chest, I guess a little bit over a double chest of items. He's really not necessary at this scale. We don't have a lot going on. I don't see him being super useful right now. All right, so for the mid game, we are in my forever world. I've been trying to think of like an experiment to do with the mid game, and I think I found one that might work for us. So I was thinking, you know, back to this stage in the game, which I mean, I'm kind of in end game in this world, but I imagine mid game players probably have access to a beacon, and they're probably starting some of their bigger projects in their worlds. And one thing that typically happens when you combine a beacon and some big projects is digging gigantic holes. So we are going to dig out a bit of space here. I'm going to set up a little configuration for some copper golems utilizing chest systems like this, and we're going to see just how useful it can be whenever you're mining out a bunch of materials. So we are going to go through, we are going to basically take out this entire layer right here, and we're going to see if the copper golems are useful at sorting it for us. So for this experiment, I'm going to use 4 copper golems and a double wide copper chest, along with a couple of double chests. I'm just going to set up this system over here off to the side. And we'll put our copper chest right here and get the guys going. Now, they really shouldn't wander too far away from that chest, and I don't think there's anywhere around here that they can die. So I think we're just going to get to mining, and once we get our inventory full, we're going to go and drop it off and let those guys start to sort. All right, so we've made it down and back once, and I haven't picked up all the materials, but I want to go ahead and get these guys sorting. So I think we want to put probably a couple of chests dedicated to stone, do one for ores and whatnot, and dirt. Okay, now we're going to put this stuff in here, and they're going to sort away while we continue to mine. Might have been easier to just put them in the chests ourselves, but hey, we're to get into the test, giving them a try, benefit of the doubt and everything. Well, this time I do actually have a full inventory, and I hope that these guys are done sorting almost. Are you getting stuck on each other? Guys, what are we doing here? I might move this chest out of the way then. So we're going to put this stuff in now, and they're going to sort it while we go back and collect everything else. I'm a little bit concerned that they're not already through those little bits of items that we had, but we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. I think I need a filter for this still. So they should be filling up at least a little bit, yeah. If this does end up working, it is nice that you only have to spend like a minute or so setting up filters, and then the rest of the time you can just come through and just check your items in the chest whenever you're done with everything. That, if it does work, would be pretty nice. And my inventory is full again. All right, how much progress have you made? The bottleneck might be that we only have 4 here, but okay, that's a little bit better. I think they were definitely getting caught on each other, but they still only did a row and 4 stacks by the time we got back here, or by the time at least we filled up our inventory again. So they are definitely not keeping up with the rate that we are mining. So we might have to go through and get a couple more. All right, now if I come back and these guys are all stuck on each other, or the chest isn't empty, I'm gonna be a little bit upset at them. All right, down and back once more. Our pickaxe is hurting, and they are only through 9 stacks. 10, 18. Like, I can't count. 18 stacks. Is this an issue of like having too many golems here? Oh, I think I see part of the problem. So only 1 copper golem can look in the chest at a time. So it's really bottlenecked by the rate that they can open these chests. So we can only get 16 items out every 3-4 seconds. It's not very fast. I mean, just standing here, I guess they've already done 3 stacks, but I really did not expect it to be bottlenecked by the fact that only 1 of them can open the chest at a time. That's so interesting. I mean, they're slowly making their way through the items. So if we instead, a better way to do this might be to separate the chests. And of course I picked the one that was full of items. Okay, so if we separate the chests and then load this one up, that technically should mean it takes about half the time to get all that stuff sorted. Theoretically, I'm gonna go repair my pickaxe while we're waiting for those guys to sort those. And the verdict is, looks like they're still sorting everything. I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about it. Can't let all this stuff despawn though. Another problem with this system is that they can't look in the same chest as their friends. And I think I might have forgotten to set a few of these filters. Alright, right, so a problem that I'm noticing with at least this system in particular, these copper golems are getting in their own way. They're tripping over each other's feet and like preventing some of them from going through to the chest and some of them to coming back and getting these. I'm sure there's probably a smarter way to like over engineer this so that they don't get in their way. Looks like most of them are done sorting, so we're gonna do one more lap and see if maybe from start to finish splitting up the two is a better way to do things, or maybe I should go through and remove these chests here. Well, we'll give less chests a shot, I suppose. All right, and there we have it, the final pass. Now, we did run into a little bit of a hiccup. We have gold ore now and gravel, which I do not have filters for. So either I can let these guys try and sort it out themselves, which there's no empty chests, so they're not going to be able to do anything with it, or I just go ahead and set the filters myself and just sort it myself. But here we go. We split this up into 2 different chests. I will do 9 in one and 9 in one, and then put the rest in there and give them another shot. Where are you going? Go back. They look to be getting less in each other's way, but again, we're still bottlenecked by the amount of copper golems that can open a chest at one time. And it looks like this guy's getting confused as well. Like they're all politely waiting in line to be able to drop off their stuff. It looks like they're doing a little bit better of a job with less chests, actually. Kind of strange. Kind of strange. All right, that is the last item. So it didn't take as long, I suppose, this time around. We didn't have near as many items, but I do think that having less chests helped. The issue still is that only one of them can access a chest at a time, which is something I was unaware of at the beginning of this experimentation. So for this stage in the game, it's not terrible to set up a system like this. Obviously, it's very simple to put together. It's just not very useful. These guys are constantly tripping over themselves, and it's going to be a lot simpler if you just go through and put the stuff away yourself. Like, I don't see them as being super necessary, at least for this context. We're going to give them another shot in a different context. Here, though, I can't see them being very useful. All right, so for the second method I wanted to test in mid-game, we have ourselves a basic mob farm. Now, this thing isn't too special. You know, it's the very generic system that a lot of people have in their worlds. But the thing that we are doing differently here is we are sorting with copper golems. Now, a lot of the pathfinding issues that we were experiencing last time with them constantly running into each other should be diminished at least a little bit with these warped vines. They should remove the collision boxes, I believe, of the copper golems, so they stop running into each other and pushing each other so much. Theoretically, that's what Google says. Those should help us out a little bit. We have 3 different lines of copper chests here, just basically 1 for each row of hoppers. Nothing too special there. And then we have, I believe, 6 copper golems here in the center. So the idea is maybe whilst one is opening this chest, another can be putting stuff away, and there's kind of like a nice tag team going on. Maybe. I mean, we're going to see. It's not like a super complex setup. And then we just have some very basic filters. It's nothing special. You know, this is mid-game. We're not over-engineering things too much at this stage in the game. It's just our basic functionality. We're going to see if they're actually useful here. We'll save the over-engineering for later, but right now I think I want to do a AFK test. Okay, right about there. Now let's see. Is this spawning mobs? Yep, okay. I see a couple. Forgot to spawn proof it, whatever. All right, so the first real test, those will get pushed out. Nice, okay. And then they'll die down here in the bottom. Okay. All right, and then let's go see our copper golem sorting. Okay, so they're not getting like a lot of items like they were in our mining test. And it looks like at the rate that they're coming in, obviously this isn't like super optimized, but it looks like we are running into a much smaller bottleneck than we did the last time, if any at all. I think a real test with this would be like a 5 to 10 minute AFK session, which we can do. And actually, to make this go a little bit faster, we can do a tick sprint for 3 days. And yeah, you can see just how much faster that is going. I haven't seen any mobs with armor yet, but I imagine that when they do come through, it is going to ruin our system. But yeah, you can see they're actually doing a pretty decent job of sorting this stuff already. Real noisy about it too. Now, I believe another problem, this is really funny to watch. I believe another thing, the mobs shouldn't drop as much armor if they're not being killed by a player. So it might not be as big of a problem as I was thinking at first. Oh, I did forget skeleton bows as well. Let's see, can we see any of them holding items? It's nice that being in free game here, we don't get to hear all the clanking noises and stuff. I don't know. It kind of looks like they're sorting everything okay, and I don't see any non-stackables in their hands. So it does look like with the weeping vines, they're still kind of running into each other and pushing each other, which is really unfortunate. I thought that that would be fixed with adding these vines here, but I guess not. One thing that I think we could do to solve the non-stackable issue, not that we have any golems, like I can't tell, I don't think any of them are holding a non-stackable item. They all look to be sorting stuff still. But one thing I do remember hearing through the snapshot videos and stuff is that if they can check up to 10 chests at a time, and right now we have 9 chests. So we could set up a 10th chest that's like a little bit further away. And I believe to check this one last, potentially. Well, you could put it like up here or something. So if they can't figure out anything to sort in this chest and in these first 9 slots, then we could have a separate chest up here that they can just barely reach. Like if we replace this with a slab, they should still be able to reach over and grab this chest. So if we just did something like this, it should keep this chest empty. And we might get a few items here and there that are supposed to go in the filters, but it's a nice way to catch it all. Just in case they do end up running into some non-stackable items, they'll go into this chest and kind of get out of our way. So I think that's a pretty easy way to fix that. We're already in hard difficulty in this world, so I don't know if there's a way that we can force mobs to spawn with those non-stackable items, but we could run a dedicated test. They kind of took that stress test pretty well. I mean, you can see everything is sorted, actually. Kind of surprisingly, I did not expect them to be this good at it considering how bad the mining test went, but we can give this a shot. Run another tick speed sprint and then we'll reconvene from there. Set this up and we will watch.
2 very boring minutes later.
All right, sprint is over. Now we are going to see if there was any holdup. Guys doing okay? We'll check the overflow. Okay, so it does look like some of the items do get put in there, but I mean, if it's the only insurance we have against non-stackable items, a couple things like this, I mean, that tick sprint represented about 30 minutes of AFK time, I believe, is what that is. It means. I did not know that phantoms could spawn on a player in creative mode. That feels so stupid. I don't understand that mechanic whatsoever. But okay, I think this test was a lot more successful than the initial test. Item filters really are not that hard to set up, but if you don't feel like it, or if you want to use Copper Golems just for the sake of using them, I mean, this really isn't a bad way to do it, and it's a lot easier to set up than I was initially anticipating. But it did, at the end of the day, require quite a bit of engineering. So it's not something that you can just set up simply. It's a bit simpler than the last system that we incorporated. You just kind of have to know about Copper Golems and how to manipulate their AI to work for you. And it's just kind of a trade-off, I believe. Because me personally, I feel like I would prefer to set up item filters because I know I have more control over that. But if I were ever feeling like it, I would not mind using Copper Golems, I don't believe. But that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us swiftly back to my forever world, now for phase 3. And you've seen us progressively get more and more over-engineered with the Copper Golems. Now is time for the ultimate over-engineering. This is my brand new storage system, newly retrofitted for use of the Copper Golems. And, well, I could go through and talk to you about all the different redstone systems that we have in place here. I can do a little bit of a free cam behind the back. We really just have item filters that we set up and little modules for the Copper Golems to sit in. If we come back here to inspect the filters, you can see I have stuff set up in the typical multi-item sorter way. The idea is we are going to have a little bit of an over-engineered, complicated system to unload all of our items, all of our gubbins, all of our shulker boxes, stuff like that. They're going to shoot up this column here and they're going to make their way into this chest. Now the Copper Golems are going to sort, and if they can't figure it out, they're going to put it in this chest and sort, and continue along all the way around our storage system until it eventually loops all the way back to the beginning. But we have water streams going all along to a module over here, some more water streams looping all the way back to the ending spot, which is actually right where we began. But if we come over here, this is the main input and output system. All the stuff that we want to sort is going to go in these chests here. All the stuff that doesn't get sorted or doesn't have a filter for it set up yet is going to go over here. The way the system works is that whenever there's items in this chest and whenever we hit this button, so if we were to hit it right there, the light turns on. When this light is on and when there's items in this system, it'll start draining out into a shulker unloader underneath. This will unpack all of our shulker boxes and set it into the system, or it'll one by one individually distribute the items. So it shouldn't be too fast that the Copper Golems can't handle it, but we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of insurance in place. We're going to put, I believe, 6 or so, maybe 4 in each module on this first set, and then we're going to go half-life till the end. So 4 in those modules over there, 2 in these modules over here, and then 1 on each of those on the other side of the storage system. Now, I do have a lot of leftover materials from redoing my storage system because I went and built this and then they announced Copper Golems like 2 weeks later. So I completely redid everything that I had here before to make room for the Copper Golems and for this video. Mostly, I just wanted a multi-item sorter, so it was kind of a nice 2 birds with 1 stone type of thing. But we have plenty of random junk that we can send into the system and plenty of full shulker boxes as well. And just kind of stress test this thing right off the bat. But we do need to put our Copper Golems in place first. Right now, a full stack should be more than enough Copper Golems for the system with plenty to spare. And at this stage, since we are using the fully oxidized copper blocks, they should not take that long to become statues. I believe it's a pretty fast process. So it'll get a little bit noisy here, but you can see some of them are already turning into statues, which is just perfect. That's exactly what we need. I gotta give them props. This system is really easy to transport the Copper Golems around and really, really smart. All right, well, this guy is not turning into a statue for some reason, but we are going to go ahead with our plan. I'm going to work my way up to the top of this system, and we're going to drop the Copper Golems in one at a time. So we should just need to scrape these guys all the way up and then get our wax ready to wax them like that. And they'll access the chest? Yeah, okay. And we could just drop a couple of these guys in. Okay, so there's 4 in there. I think that's more than enough. And we'll do 4 in each of these starting modules. And so the main idea here is that once one Copper Golem gets stuff out of this chest, they will go through and check each and every one of the rest of the chests here. There are 6 chests in each module and 1 on the very end. So if they make it to this part of the module and they still don't have the item or they still have something in their hand, they'll put it in this chest and it'll continue along the line, filter into this one, and the next set of Copper Golems can start sorting that stuff. Theoretically, that's what should happen. You know, we will see once we actually put this to the test. I didn't test this in creative mode before trying this out, so we might be in for a heartbreak. Hopefully not, though. I'm going to try and stay positive. All right, and then in these final modules, we're just doing 1 Copper Golem in each of them. That should be more than enough, especially because the further we get into the sorting system, there are less items. I kind of front-loaded everything towards where we started this project. All right, I'm just going to free cam, make sure we got everything set up okay. Just double, triple checking everything because this could go wrong very, very fast. Oh, and it looks like there is already stuff in the system that they are sorting. Must have been from the renovations that I did. I guess that's a good sign. And the nice thing about this system too is if I ever need to reset a filter, I can just come through here at the backside and just add whatever I need to. Like for instance, this is supposed to be like animal drops, and I'm still missing quite a few of them. So this is the perfect system to come through here and just change whatever filters I need to whenever I could possibly need to. But it looks like they are all good to go, which means we could do our ultimate stress test. Do I want to test everything at once or give it a little bit of a push? I'm kind of thinking we just full send it and see what happens. One thing that I know for sure is not going to get sorted is all of my redstone stuff, but everything else should be you know, I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. We'll give it a test. We shall see, because I'm sure there's stuff that I was missing. And there really shouldn't be this many items ever in the system that I'll need to sort at once. So if it does prove a little bit hard for the system, it should only be a one-time thing. Most of the time, this is just going to be me coming through and dumping off stuff after a long project that I just don't feel like sorting. And best of all, it should be chunk unloading resistant. I don't think the Copper Golems are chunk based, so we shouldn't have to worry about leaving while it's in the middle of sorting stuff. Okay, it's pretty much full up now, so I'm going to press this button and we should see things start to move. So those are items getting spat out into the system. And if it's a shulker box, it'll get spat out there and it'll start draining stuff and then get spat out into the system. But you can see the items are floating up here and then the Copper Golems should start sorting it. The only problem that of course is going to arise is that this is going to take a long time. So we are going to sit here, we're going to watch this drain and we're going to cross our fingers. I should also start a replay just in case anything does go wrong. We're going to sit here, we're going to watch all this drain and we'll be back in a little bit.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, so it has been 50 minutes, 45 minutes at this point, and we are only down a chest and a half-ish, and it's still not done with everything in the system, which is okay. You know, it's not the fastest system in the world. It's just supposed to be convenient and let us drop all of our items and forget about it. The real question is, how well are these Copper Golems catching up, or staying caught up, I believe. And there was an issue with my audio. You should be able to hear everything now, but in the last segment, there was no audio, which is just just great. But there should be plenty of fun noises now. Okay, so here we have a little bit of a backup. I did put some chests in place as a bit of a buffer, just in case we do have an extreme backup, which, I mean, now that I'm looking at the number of chests we have, probably wasn't as necessary, but we've made it through a full double chest and a half, and so 3 total chests, and we have about a chest of backup here. One thing also I wanted to check was the overflow, which I guess we'll check in a second, but it looks like, I mean, they're all moving along, they're all working. It's a bit of a catch up there at the beginning, but let's check the output chest. Not the greatest result. I mean, I don't have filters for this, but everything else there are filters for, so I don't know why they ended up back here. So let's just go ahead and throw those back into the system, I suppose. For what it's worth, the amount of like over engineering that you have to do in order to have a multi-item sorter, I mean, I think this system still beats having to do it the old way, which required a very complex redstone system and knowing how to do that kind of stuff and having a Lightmatica schematic for it and all that. And for this one, I basically just watched a tutorial, I'll link it below, and copied like one module of their system over and then just made my own system based off of that. So, I mean, I don't have like the most redstone experience, and if I can do it, there's probably a lot of people out there that are able to figure out this stuff on their own. There's nothing really complicated. I'd say the most complicated thing about this system is probably the shulker unloader down here. This system here, it looks a lot more complicated than it is. I promise you that. Oh no. Did I just pick up a bunch of items off the ground? I hope that wasn't stuff that fell in the ocean. Where did I get that from? Okay, I think I'm freaking myself out for no reason. So we have, oh yeah, okay, I must have picked him up from there. Sorry, getting a little bit distracted here, but I mean, this system really isn't that complicated. It's an AND gate, it's shulker unloaders. It's really not the hardest thing to figure out in the world, and I bet you it's a lot simpler than the old multi-item sorters that were common. So I mean, if it's something that interests you and you want to, you know, take Copper Golems into this stage of an endgame Minecraft world, there are options for you if you want to try and figure it out yourself. I don't think it was that complicated. And in terms of multi-item sorters, I definitely wasn't going to do my own system or any kind of like super advanced redstone system in this build. It just didn't have the space for it. I didn't have the time or patience to have to deal with that. The really nice thing about this system is that I can just leave it and walk away and go do other stuff in my world while it's sorting stuff, and I can just come back and have it all be done. So it may take a little bit of time, it may take a little bit of effort to get set up, but it's not near as much effort as the other multi-item sorters, and it really, I mean, it's so far it's not the worst system in the world, but it is probably about as complicated as you can get with these Copper Golems. But does it answer our question? Are Copper Golems actually useful? Well, I would say yes and no at the same time. Like, they are fairly useful if you know how to use them, if you know how to use their AI and manipulate them into whatever way you need to. If whether that's some small storage system you have set up, a gigantic multi-item sorter like this one, if it's some random like little animation tricks you want to do, like what Exuma is doing in his world, some random buildstone, whatever. You just got to know how to actually use these guys if you want to make them useful for yourself. In general, I don't know how much of the normal Minecraft player base is going to be building multi-item sorters out of Copper Golems. I think they're going to use them in those little niche case scenarios in the mid game, in the early game. So I just don't know how useful it's going to be for them at this stage. For me, it is pretty useful because it gave me access to multi-item sorters because I didn't really have any plans to add one, and this was a simple enough system for me to set up. It did require a little bit of manipulation, a little bit of effort, but it was infinitely less effort than it would be the old ways and the old multi-item sorter. So for me, I'd say in this case, in my endgame world, it is very useful. But in the niche cases that we discussed in the mid game, in the early game, I don't think it's as useful as maybe Mojang had wanted it to be. And I don't think many people are going to use it outside of big systems like this and maybe those niche animation tricks that you can do with them. At the end of the day, I had a lot of fun experimenting with this, and I hope you guys learned a thing or two, or, you know, formed your own opinion of it or whatever. And if there's any other experiments that I should have tried or any mistakes that I made along the way, I'm sure you'll let me know, and I would appreciate the feedback. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop rambling. This has been a very fun video to produce. I hope you all had some fun along the way. As always, thank you so much for being here at this point in the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.